Hi, and welcome back to A Woman's Heart podcast on DOE Network. I'm your host, Edna Howard, founder of Voices of Encouragement. It's an organization designed to empower women and impact the world. I'm so excited you're joining me for another empowering message because this year we're shining the spotlight on mindset, lifestyle, wellness, and business. And for the next 3 months, I'm going to show up and dedicate everything to mindset. We have an amazing woman on the show today who has an amazing mindset of pivoting and shifting and using all of her talents. So I'm looking at coaching from a coaching perspective. I know that everything starts with mindset. We specialize in helping women find and claim their personal power, providing educational products, training, mentoring, empowerment workshops, and networking events for women all over the world. And I am honored and privileged to have on the show with me today, Miss Ida Campbell. Now, Ida, she's a mom, she's a grandmother, she's a foster mom, she's a widower, she's an entrepreneur. She is a music historian and a Renaissance woman. And I love that about her. And since 1975 to current, she's been with the federal space, and she's been detailed at DEA, retired, real estate investor, builder, master trainer, wellness coach, architect, apprentice, done it all. And currently, she's also she is the blues programmer for WPFW on Fridays till noon. Now you got to pick her up, and it's called Don't Forget the Blues. Ida's also, she sings the blues, which is a blessing, and brings a spirit of innovating, soul-shaking presence and master of the soul that you can never have imagined. In her band, she has a band called the Blues Nation. It's comprised of professional musicians from the district, from Maryland, and from Virginia, from the DMV. And I'm wondering too, Ida, since you've done so much, what haven't you done? I'm going to ask that question. What haven't you done?
I haven't gone to medical school.
Oh, okay. You're like, I got all of this covered. I'm sure that's coming up next. So
no, that's not coming up next. Because that, real quick, I have always been a person that's a giver and a caretaker.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when I was growing up, my mom would have seizures, and I'd be the first one. I knew what to do because right. I do a lot of reading, and I would automatically take care of it. So if anybody in the family was sick, I was there, even at a young age. And first thing my sister said, you need to become a nurse. You need to be a nurse because that's what you do. You do that real well. Well, I did that. I went to, that's where I started at UDC. My first year in college was a registered nurse. When they opened up the program, it was a 2-year program. I said, oh, I can do this. So I went the first year, got really good grades, and I waited till the last minute to get in. And I couldn't get back in that program because it was very popular. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do not want to sit out a year from school. So that's why I ended up going into criminal justice and law enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we want to welcome you to the show, Ida. We're super excited to have you grace our presence. I am excited because of who you are and what you do. And I just wanted to have you on the show so you could share your wisdom and knowledge with everyone. And then also, kind of showcase your radio station and talk about what you do as a radio personality, because I'm so excited about that. Now, you're gonna take the world by storm. You've already been doing that, but I want you to take this podcast by storm and share a little bit about who you are. So let's jump in, and you can tell me from your heart who you are and what makes you get up in the morning.
Well, I tell you, it's what makes me get up in the morning is knowing that I have another day to get it right, really.
That's good.
And I say that because, I really didn't understand what this life thing was all about growing up, because it wasn't like I was directed to do a minimal, just go to school, get good grades. College wasn't even in the picture so far as my parents saying you need to go to college. I knew I needed to go to college. So that was on my mind. And based on that, I knew that I had to direct myself into things that I wanted to do, that I had a passion for. And it wasn't just one thing. And my mom would say, why don't you just, go ahead and finish school and get a government job and, go from there. And it wasn't like, I'm like, why do I have to do just one thing?
Right.
So
I agree. I completely agree with you. I completely.
Yeah, because the thing about it is, I just real quick, I had my father's side. I did not know my mother's side of the family, mainly because my mother was from Cuba. She was born in Cuba, raised in Cuba. And my dad met her in Cuba and they got married. Subsequently, here I come. And she didn't speak very much English. So by the time we got over here, the idea for me and in growing up, my dad, when he served 26 years in the Navy, and we moved around. So it wasn't like I was just, hoined, kind of just knowing that I had to stay in one place. That wasn't an idea for me. That wasn't in my spirit to stay in one place. But I saw my aunts and uncles had their own businesses when I was 14 in Chicago, Illinois, and Quincy, Illinois. My uncles had their own barbershops. My aunt had her own beauty salon. And then I saw their homes, and I mean, their homes were laid out. I don't know what other people had, but I know she had white carpet. I'm like, oh, I want to be just like her.
Right.
So I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to cosmetology school. So I told my mom, we found Margaret Washington cosmetology school. And I went there, it was all girls in Washington, D.C. Graduated, started doing hair. And then I got interested in boys or young men. And ended up having 2 children out of wedlock. That was no fun. So, and back then you had to wait, and I was working in salons and barbershops because I knew I had to make money to take care of these kids. And I said, you know what? I have to wait for people. I did not have a stable clientele that would come in every hour or every 2 hours. And I was not going to get on welfare because it just at that point in time, it just wasn't in me. And I went ahead and I changed. I had to change. So that's when I started going to school, graduated with a degree in criminal justice. And I'm bypassing all the other stuff. But the thing about it, I knew I had to change what I was doing because I didn't like waiting for money to come in.
Right. Because you got to wait for someone to call you, clients coming in, and sometimes they cancel. That's the other thing.
And that's the only way I would make money. So at that point, I got hired at Smithsonian on a work study program in their security office. And then I went from Smithsonian to being hired by GSA as a federal police officer.
Wow.
And went through all the training down in Flea Tech, which is a federal law enforcement training academy in Glencoe, Georgia. And my agency gave us training and what have you. And so, but a real funny story is that I didn't know how to use a gun. Didn't know. And they said, well, you're not doing so well with this gun. I'm like, okay. And something in my brain said, think about the boyfriends that you had that did you wrong.
Easy to know how to use a gun, right? It's like,
okay. So you know what I did, Edna? I I thought about that and I got revved up and I said, okay, I got to focus. So there are two targets, the big target and a little target. I said, focus on the little target. See if you can hit that. I said, just hold on a minute. Let me see if I can do this. And I'd hit that little target every time. So then I went ahead and focused on the big target. So it's a mind game that I had to play with myself in order to get through that class. And once I got through that class, I was fine because I had to get through that class in order to stay in the program. And then they sent you down to Georgia. And
wow.
The thing about it, I was with all the DEA agents, FBI and everything. I said, wow, I am here. So
God, he just continued to bless you and cover you and put you in the right place at the right time, right?
That's right. That's right. And subsequently, some details came up with drug enforcement, and I was detailed to Baltimore to work with drug enforcement undercover for 3 years.
Wow.
Within that time span.
You have lived. I mean,
I'm
like, what hasn't this amazing woman done, right? I'm looking at him like, oh, okay. And now you're about to do something else special. You know, you're getting into architect apprentice. You're going to be an architect apprentice.
Architect trainee, yes. Architect apprentice and trainee is somewhat similar. But I only came in that, and let me pivot. I retired mainly because back in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, it was that old boy network where it was mostly older white men. Them coming and dealing with a younger Black female in law enforcement, their thing was, let me see if I can get her to sleep with me. I was not that kind of female. I wouldn't even do that in my other agency with the federal government. I would, and the thing about it, you had to, being a female in law enforcement, even today, you have to learn how to take care of yourself and stand up to men. You might be scared, but you better not show it. So that came about, and I said, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. I went ahead and retired and went into real estate. And that's how I got involved in the real estate investment. And that's where I met. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, you live and you learn. I have been married 3 times.
Okay.
My last husband was a building inspector on one of the sites that I was on, because I was a salesperson for 3 different builders. And I met him, and subsequently we got married, and we started doing real estate because I knew how to sell people. I knew how to talk to them, give them the right information. I learned that I had that sales ability. I didn't think I did, but I did. God has been blessing me all the time.
Another talent and gift.
Another talent I didn't even know I had.
Look at God. I love it.
Yes.
So awesome.
Yes. And so, and my husband was really good. He had some very good experience in building homes. Even though he was a building inspector, we built 5 homes for our children. Now, he and I did not have children together, but we built 5 homes for our kids. So that's where I got that experience from. And then we did some real estate investment so far as buying property, renting them, or either flipping them. So that's where I got that experience from. And I used to be an adjunct professor for Montgomery College and Prince George's College, teaching real estate.
I was going to ask that question. What were you teaching? Were you teaching real estate? I love that. So you were sharing the wealth. It's like, let me share with some other people, pour into them. I love that. So let's shift a little bit, because I want to ask the question about your show and the show that you have on WPFW. I know that it's amazing, Right. And so tell us a little bit about how you stumbled into that, or
That's absolutely correct. Stumbled into, because that was not on my mind, but my husband and I were going through some rocky roads, and we separated. Things got a bit abusive and what have you. I said, no, I'm not doing this.
Right.
Excuse me. So I thought it was best for me to separate from him, because things got very, very rough. And me, and knowing I'm a very patient person, but he knew my background. And I didn't know what a narcissist was because I'd never encountered. But later on, I learned that that's the personality that he was distributing. And I said, I can't be a part of that. So anyway, I separated from him. And a friend of mine, long and short, and I was still selling real estate at the time. The long and short of it was that a friend of mine who was a vice president of the DC Blues Society said, you know, because I love blues music, I inherited most of my dad's music and what have you. Said, you know, you ought to, because of your voice, you have very good presence in your voice. You ought to see if you can get on WPFW. I said, you know, Nick, I don't have any broadcasting experience, and I'm sure that that's what you need. He said, you might be surprised. Go ahead and see if you can do that. So I listened to WPFW because of my dad, and lo and behold, they had, I heard that one of the DJs was leaving. I said, well, maybe this is my time. So I called, they said, send your resume, but we need you to do a 1 hour promotion with you doing the news, doing the weather, and playing music for 1 hour. And I did just that. Sent it to them. 2 weeks later, I got called. They said, you know, we're going to put you on Tuesday, but we're actually going to put you on a Friday. I said, are you saying I got the job? Now, mind you, this job is volunteering. Right. They don't pay you. Now, since 2006, I have been there. And
long time.
As a volunteer, never being paid. And it has been the most amazing thing for me, because I have met some of the finest artists, iconic people you ever want to meet. You know, like B.B. King, George Duke. Oh my gosh, just so many people. And so I've been there every Friday, and we have to raise money for the station because it is a nonprofit. It's a public radio station, and we have no corporate sponsorship. So I have been on there, loving every minute. And this year had to be the best year for me so far as raising funds. My show is only an hour, and I raised $7,000 plus in an hour.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. So what keeps you motivated? I mean, what keeps you motivated and knowing when to pivot? Because you pivoted along the way, and your journey it's just amazing, right? So you pivoted, you've tried different things, and everything it sounds like you've been very successful at. So now you're in radio. And I think when I talked to you once, you said you work on the Hill too. You work at the Senate. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. I work at the Senate office building. And
wow. Is that your second career, or you decided that I'm gonna do some other things as well as you move along?
That is my second career. Once I left federal government, the first time I got into real estate, as I said. But in 2007 and 2008, you know, the market dropped. The real estate dropped really bad. So I said, and then my husband at the time, the gentleman I was talking about, decided to quit his job as a building inspector. And that kind of broke it. I said, you know, I really need health insurance. I cannot do this without health insurance.
Right.
I had to have surgery. And so I went and got a job at Home Depot.
Whatever works.
What, I mean,
They got
you
help.
know what? I said, I got to do something. And I'm, you know, I tell you, I am one person, I don't shy away from work.
Right. It sounds like you a true she hustler. You're like, I am going to make it.
Yes.
If I got to do that, I do that too. You know, until the time comes to do something else. I love that.
That's exactly right. And that's what, you know, I'm glad this show is about, you know, making changes and switching and making things work. I said, you know, I could go out here and be a criminal, but why do that? That would be short-lived for me. Why would I want to do that? So I said, and I don't like the women in prison. They're not men. And
right.
You know, but anyway,
that's not the direction my life is gonna go.
No, and especially with me having children, there was no way I was going to do that. So I got a job just within 2 weeks, and based on that, I was designing kitchens and bathrooms. I did not have that skill.
Clearly it's in all of this talent is in you. You're tapping it, right? It's like each time you pivot, it sounds like, okay, well, let me tap that talent. Okay, well, let me tap that talent. Because, and even though a lot of times it sounds like you're like, well, I wasn't aware that talent was dormant in you the whole time. It was just a matter of getting in the right positioning to be able to leverage it.
Not only the right position, the right mindset. Because sometimes we think we cannot do certain things, but if we don't open ourselves up to it, just to put your foot in the water to see if you can do it, especially when you have a need.
Exactly. I love it. That is so good, Ida. So what keeps you positive? I mean, what has kept you positive and helped you with living this, you know, being able to navigate the adversity in your life?
What keeps me going is the fact that when I look at other people that are handicapped, people that, you know, I love the Olympics. And the reason why I like the Olympics is because, and especially there's, I can't think of the name right now, when you see people do things that you've never done before, you see people that do the Olympics that may not have a limb. You see people that can't walk, but they're still pushing ahead. You know, the thing about it is I got all my faculties, my hands, my limbs, I'm in my right mind. There's no way that I can't do what I set out to do.
I love it. I love it. Just keeping that positive mindset. So what is your superpower? Because you got so many, but what makes you unique? What do you think your superpower is?
Well, some people, you know, might not think this is a superpower, but my belief in God. I have a strong belief and a strong faith that He will bring me through no matter what I do. And I have to hold on to that because I've been through some things. So that's why I have to hold on to that and know that He will lead me the right way. So I don't know. And on my show, I said, I don't know who you all believe in. This has nothing to do with the radio station, but I am a believer in Jesus Christ.
Awesome. So you even spreading the gospel. When you have a platform that you're leveraging, I love it. So you spreading the gospel. I love that.
Yes.
That is wonderful. So could you give a piece of advice to someone who may be considering taking that leap of faith and getting into radio?
Even if you don't have any experience like I didn't, there are other transferable skills that you can use. If you have a voice, you have an idea about something, if you love, and I have always loved music. Yes. And you can put it together. Go ahead and take that leap of faith. Send your resume in to any radio station. They're always looking for someone. And put your skills in there. Make your skills transferable in reference to talking to people, enjoying music, and just making it so that they have to have you. They want you. Yeah. And the other thing is making sure that you do it with excitement. When you send that MP3 in reference to being on radio, if you want to do sports, if you love sports, make sure that you put the excitement in, and it's going to take more than one time for you to get the right rhythm and motion going in reference to making a presentation on a CD or MP3. Just knowing that you know what you know, and that you come from a place of, I really want this job, even if it doesn't pay me. It's keeping me occupied.
Passion.
And my radio station doesn't give any of us any training.
Wow, you just can, and you've been doing this thing since 2006, right?
Yeah.
So you just progressively got better. I mean, we're 2022. That speaks volumes of your stickability. 2023, that's right. We're in 2023. How could I forget? We rolled into a new year. But yeah, since 2006 to now, it's crazy. I love it. I love it. But that definitely speaks volumes.
The other thing I find.
Sandra Butler Truesdale or Sandra.
That's correct. The other thing I find is that if you love people, and if you are sincere, and you want to treat people well, and my father always said, you have to, when it comes to places and people, if they're your supervisors, you learn their job so that you can do it better than them, and they will see, they have to keep you because they know you're going to come for them.
Because they can't deny your greatness. That's what that is.
Right. Well, now that's another way to put it, but that's a good way to put it. Absolutely. They know that you don't mind learning anything.
Exactly. So this is awesome. So you're a successful radio personality, community leader, mom, woman of faith. So what's next for Ida?
My husband that I separated from, before I got the divorce, he passed of a heart attack. And what I have learned is that when we were together, he would draw out plans on his own. He was just good like that. Now I didn't draw out plans. I would use the software, the computer. I said, if I ever have to change anything, because I'm a creative person,
right,
and I like creating, I would get on the computer after I learned that I could do it, because I really thought I was going to fail at being a kitchen designer.
But you did it. I mean, you tried it, you put your toe in, and amazing.
I came out with some amazing designs. People loved the designs, and I was good in sales. And I said, you know what? I am going to see if I can turn this around to make it a profession, because anything that I got into, I had to be good at it. I just didn't want to do it. And it's okay to just do it and get paid. I needed to take it to the next level. And that's what I've been doing off and on between working my regular job at the Senate as a facilities engineer. I have been doing that. I have been taking courses, keeping myself familiar with my final push to be where I need to be. Because you can't, now when you deal with real estate, you have to tell people what's good in their house, what they need to keep, what they need to get rid of. You have to help them stage their houses. That's part of your creative senses.
Right.
So being that I could do that, and when I saw that I could draw and use the software with only being taught for 2 weeks, I said, you got something, girl. You can take this to the next level. And also, Edna, believing in yourself. Yes. God said that we could do all things in Christ. If he says we could do all things, That's what he means.
Right. And I think it's the belief, what you just said. Some people just, they have a limited self-belief because things that have been poured into them when they were children or younger, or they brought from their childhood, or somebody said something. So they believe that person instead of believing what God said. Yeah. And so that limits their belief of themselves of what they can do. And, it's all a little scary when you try something new, but then you get your rhythm, right? You start out with, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway and keep it moving, right? And when you come in with that attitude, just keep, because I always tell women, I coach a lot of women, and I say, everything is hard before it's easy. Because it's hard doesn't mean you're not going to get good at it. You just got to keep at it.
You just have to keep at it. That's absolutely right. I mean, vocalists have to rehearse almost every day to get their voice where it's supposed to be. It's not, everybody's not a Patti LaBelle.
Right. And speaking of that, you do sing the blues as well, and you also have a band. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then also let us know how to get in touch with you.
Okay. Yeah, I that's another thing. I love singing.
Another thing. I love it. Like, that's another talent. Oh my gosh. When I send your bio out, my mouths are going to drop. Jaws are just going to be like, what hasn't she done?
You know what? It's a mindset. And I'm so glad for this program. I'm so glad for meeting you, because I listen. You don't know. And that's one thing I wanted to tell you. I listen to your program in the morning when I get up.
Awesome. That is so
because
wonderful.
The information is so welcoming. It just wakes up all your brain cells to say, okay, this is what you need to do. This is the mindset, and you're absolutely correct. So, I used to sing in the choir at church, and I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get me a band together, because people would love my voice.
You are too awesome. I'm going to get a band together. I love it. I love it.
I would sing.
You have a new fan. You have a new fan in me. I'm just like, what?
Oh my gosh. Look, every time there's a birthday in the family, I would call them and sing a happy birthday song.
Right.
And Teresa, who is my sister, who I met you through.
I know.
She
I'm gonna talk to her. I was like, she never told me about you. Right. We've known each other for over 25 years. And I knew she had a sister, but she didn't tell me she had a sister who was doing all of this. Right. And I'm like, oh, wait till I talk to TP. Wait till I talk to her.
Real quick. The reason why I call it Blues Nation is because I have Black, white, Chinese musicians, and the music we play is from everywhere. We don't just do blues, because blues encompasses 5 different parts of the United States, American blues. And on my radio show, I give a history of how blues and gospel came about, coming back from slavery. So, I get deep into it. And then I just play my music. And my theme song is Don't Give Your Love to Sexy Ida, Tina Turner.
I love it. So
I make it fun as well.
Tell us how we can get in touch with you. Tell the listening audience how they can get in touch with you or listen to you on Friday. So what time on Friday should we be plugging into WPFW?
You should be plugging into WPFW from 12 noon to 1 o'clock. Okay. I start right at 12 noon. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm on Facebook as well, Instagram under Ida Campbell, or WPFW _89.3 FM, and then Ida Campbell or Ida C.
Awesome. Can you close us out on like you would your radio show?
Well, this is Ida Campbell, WPFW 89.3 FM. This is Friday. Good news, good blues, good vibes. I'm so glad that you were with me today. Remember, be encouraged and don't let nobody take your joy.
I love it. That's a wrap. That is a wrap.
That's a wrap, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on this show, Ida. You have made my morning. This is awesome. And I hope that women and men who have listened in can capture some gold nuggets of wisdom that you shared today. Mainly, learn how to get the right mindset to pivot, because you have pivoted and navigated life in such a way that it's a beautiful kind of tapestry to watch how you went from one thing to one thing, and God just kind of said, okay, I'm gonna bless you here, I'm gonna bless you there. So he has blessed you in everything you've done, and we just love and appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Edna. Thank you so much.
You and I have a couple of empowerment announcements for the audience. The Encouragement Cafe Women's Empowerment Virtual Workshop takes place this Saturday. Balance, focus, and de-stress is scheduled to take place this Saturday, as I said, from 9:30 to 11 a.m. And it is a virtual, so you can register and see us again on Saturday morning. And it is a registration where you can go on the VOE website, which is voicesoфencouragement.com, or you can go out to Eventbrite. And if you need to take a deeper dive and get unstuck, shift perspective, or shift your thinking, then reach out to me for some one-on-one coaching, or join me for one of my mastermind group sessions. What sets me apart is truly that I have a heart to serve, and I want to see women walk in their unique power. So remember that, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And as I always say, until we meet again, Ephesians 4:1, walk worthy of the call for which you were called.